Myself, Ashish Agarwal from School of Engineering and Technology. I welcome all my viewers for this session. I have taken this session for topic Advanced Inventory Planning and Control, which is a unit of your course MWR02, that is Advanced Inventory Planning and Control, which is a part of your program Postgraduate Certificate in Inventory Planning and Warehousing Systems. So I again welcome you, and before starting there are few things. How you will define materials management? What is the meaning of materials and management? In a very simple manner, it is a process of planning and controlling material flow. It includes various activities, just like planning, then procuring, then supplier evaluation, because you have to purchase the material, you have to procure the material. The supplier should be reliable, and reliable in both sense, in time as well as quality. Then their selection, then purchasing process, then lot of expenditures are involved, then shipping from supplier to your end and your end to vendor. All these comes under the materials management. Receipt process. And the most important thing is the quality control of the material which is coming and which is going from your hand. Then warehousing, inventory and material distribution. All this comes under the materials management. There are 5 R's of materials management. This is very important, and you need to be attentive on this particular 5 R. Right material, right amount, right time and right resource, and finally right price. So whenever we are procuring something, we need that material should be right, material should be in right amount, material should be reached at right time. Then the procurement, from where the procurement is taking place, we need the resources should be right. Why we are saying so? Because if your resource is right, the quality of the material which is coming from the supplier to your end will be ensured. Then right price. Nowadays prices are very dynamic in nature. So what, as a manufacturer or as a buyer, there is always a practice to have the economy of scale. We have to go for the material which is economic in nature. That is very important. So again I am saying that these 5 R is very important for any materials management technique. Now, what are the examples of materials management? Any manufacturer or an organization who manufacture cars needs to purchase wheels, need to purchase engines, then different glasses, windows. Also, we need to have the activities like sourcing of material, procuring of material, storing of material, and then checking the quality of the material. All that comes as an example of materials management. So if I ask you that what are the examples of materials management? In a simple word, it is the management of materials in purchasing, procuring, storing, checking quality, and then also the price. All these comes under the materials management. This is very important. Now in today's session, we have only two learning objectives. One is we want to describe the goals and objective of inventory, because whenever you have a materials management, inventory comes into the picture. Understand the function and the responsibilities of materials management. If I explain you both the learning objective, we want under the materials management umbrella, what is inventory, how it is controlled, how it is managed. Now, if I recall you in one of my earlier session, the objective of inventory control or management is to optimize the ordering cost as well as holding cost. And the second objective is about the materials management, because as a materials manager you have a certain responsibilities. So in my today's session we are going to cover both of them. Now, what are the roles of materials manager? First is what are the different roles? We have materials manager, we have a purchase manager, we have an inventory control manager, we have an inventory analyst, then stores manager, material planner, expediter, auditor, and emerging hybrid role like buyer planner. Now if you just see, total 8 roles are there, but in a big company the separate personnel are employed, but even in a small or the medium scale company, only 1 or 2 persons are responsible for carrying out the activities. Definitely, auditor may be a person from finance or some auditor, so that he may take. But remaining all the 7 activities or 8 activities will carried out by single person or maximum up to 2 or 3 persons. Now, what is the quality of a good materials manager? A good quality manager or good materials manager, we will say he is successful if he or she emphasizes on the coordination of all these activities which are related to the efficient use or the management of the materials. Now, what are these activities? Planning, procuring, purchasing, ordering, storing, all these company. So a good manager needs to coordinate all these activities. Now, if we again come to the definition of materials management is a integrated approach which is combination of several other activities dealing for the management of materials. Now, what is the significance of materials management? The first important thing, it is a service function. It is as important as manufacturing, engineering and finance because you can't manufacture anything unless and until the materials management is proper. The finance depends on materials management and materials management depends on finance. The supply of proper quality of material is essential for manufacturing standard. For any activities, if you are procuring a quality material, then definitely your product will be of good quality. So that is important. That is why procuring the quality material is also a important part of your materials management. Another very important is the material wastage. Earlier, the materials is purchased in a huge quantity without realizing the requirement of the shop floor. So what happens? There is a lot of material wastage. Now, the significance of materials management, yeah, you can say that materials management try to avoid the wastage by optimizing the purchase of the materials. Now, what are the different importance of the materials management? As you know, that the personnel involved or the materials manager always tries to keep the material cost at a reasonable level. It cannot be low, it should not be very high. Scientific purchasing. What is scientific purchasing? Just like economic order quantity or using the information technology or ICT tools for acquiring reasonable price. Just like, for example, nowadays auctioning are there. So every vendor or seller used to put their price on the website, and the manufacturer or the buyer sees and it goes for the reasonable lower price. Proper storing of the material is also helps in reducing the wastage. These factors helps in controlling the cost component or cost content of the materials. Another important importance of materials management is that there are two types of material. One is direct material, another one is indirect material. Direct materials are those material which are directly used for making a particular product. Indirect materials are those materials which are normally used in support of production of that particular product. For example, different types of lubricant, coolants, your electricity, your water supply, all these comes as a indirect. Even the tools, they are not the direct, while the raw material or cutting tools, they are directly involved, so they are direct materials. The cost of indirect materials are also need to be checked. Sometimes cost of the indirect materials increases because there is no control. Everybody wants that lubricant should be purchased in a huge quantity, or coolant should be purchased in a huge quantity, or grease, everything. So there is no proper control, because just like a direct material, we have a economic order quantity, we have a ABC analysis, we have a Pareto chart, but in case of indirect material, there is no such control. So it is the objective of a materials management to keep an eye on this indirect materials cost. Equipment which is used to manufacture the different items, it is the responsibility, or you can say indirect responsibility of a materials manager to keep a watch on the equipment, so there should not be untimely breakdown. Because if there is a breakdown, there is a wastage of time, and the organization will not be able to supply the materials or the component within due time. So these are the some important points of the materials management. Another thing, there are two types of labor, direct labor and indirect labor. Direct labor, which is directly involved in the production of a product. Indirect labor, which support, just like machine operator, who is working on a CNC machine and with proper coding he is producing. But the person who is bringing the plan or who is bringing the tools is indirect labor. So the loss of direct labor should be avoided. Here, direct labor is very important. Wastage of materials at stage of storage as well as movement should be kept under control. Supply of materials should be prompt, because if there is a late delivery, there will be loss of prestige and reputation of the organization. Few more points which I want to elaborate regarding the importance of materials management. The company or organization which is making investment on the materials, they should be kept under control. Overstocking should be avoided. Earlier I have seen many examples where the materials is purchased in a bulk to get the economy of scale. But the bulk purchasing should be made up to a certain point, not in all the cases. And one should also see that what is the life cycle of the materials which we are stocking or which we are storing. So that is very important, and overstocking in all the cases should be avoided. Another important point is that congestion. In earlier times, when we are not following the Japanese techniques or the Japanese were not coming to India, then if you have the picture of old factories or the establishment, you will find lot of congestion. Though the passage is wide, but materials are lying in the along the path, so there is a difficulty in movement of the worker, even in the movement of material with the help of your auto guided vehicle, AGVs. So that is very important, that congestion of material flow in the store as well as the shop floor should be avoided. Now I will again focusing on the materials management, and this we have taken all from your self-learning material which we have provided you through eGyan course. Now we come to a particular topic, what are the objectives of materials management. Definitely we have understood what is the significance, what is the importance, now why we are doing and what we will achieve with materials management. The goal of any materials management is to maintain the unbroken chain, because what is ultimate goal? That the chain of supply chain should not be broken. Now what is the chain? The customer is demanding, that demand goes to dealer, then manufacturer, and manufacturer ask the supplier to supply certain items. Then a manufacturer make and sell or provide the finished good to the dealer from where the customer purchase. This is the chain. If there is any delay in materials management, if there is any quality issue, your chain will be broken. Chain between production and sale or manufacture, this should not be broken. Materials department is assigned for releasing the materials to a supply base, ensuring that materials are delivered on time to the user. Now, suppose there are several workstations in a machine shop. Now, each one is waiting or pulling the materials so that he or she put some value so that it should move from one station to another. If there is any delay, the whole process will be delayed. So that is why it is very important objective of materials management that there should not be delay in carrying out the materials from one place to another place. Another important point is that the objective of materials management is put into two categories. First one is your primary objective and the second one is your secondary objective. Because earlier we have seen main objective, just like the chain should not be broken or there should not be any delay in reaching the materials, or materials should reach in time in a right quantity at right place. So these are the objective. Now, for your convenience, for better understanding, we have categorized or classified the objective into two classes. One is your primary objective and second one is your secondary objective. So we will see one by one what is primary objective and what is the secondary objective. In case of primary objective is to assure the supply of material, to maintain a optimum inventory level and minimum deviation between the planned and actual result. Now, if we analyze all the components of a primary objective, let us take one by one. The last one is minimum deviation from the actual and the real. Now, what we have planned? We have planned that materials from supplier end will reach to the manufacturer within 1 day, 2 day or 3 day, depending upon the various anticipated delays. But what happens? Sometimes you have a unexpected delay. For example, strike, accident or breakdown of the vehicle or non-availability of the raw material. So, materials management objective is to analyze that delay with have a consideration over all these types of unanticipated or anticipated causes of delay. So, there should not be much deviation. For example, if we have estimated the lead time as a 1 day, it can be 2 days or 3 days, but it cannot be 15 days or 1 month. So, deviation of 1 day or 2 days is tolerable, but deviation of 14 days or 28 days is not tolerable. Similarly, study of or the supply of material or keeping a optimum level of the inventory is the primary objective. Now, why we want the optimum level? Because the production is taking place. If material does not come, our production is going to hampered. we will not be able to produce the items. So the whole factory will be disturbed. And as an organization, the primary objective is to provide the material at the right time, at the right place, which cannot be happen due to not meeting the primary objective. Second, and the first important point is the supply of right material, which is the very important and the basic primary objective of any materials management or the materials manager. Now what we want? We want that what is required. Now materials can be in terms of a raw material, it can be tools, even it can be manpower also. Now if the production start or the first processing start with workstation first, then the material should reach or material should be supplied from supplier end to the workstation 1 within the stipulated period of time. Because if there is a delay, then if you remember the importance that there should not be any wastage of direct labor. If the material is not reaching at time, so what is happening? This particular operator or direct labor will wait for materials to reach at their place, so there is a wastage of time. So this comes under the primary objective. So I again repeat, the supply of material, keeping the optimum inventory, and third one is minimizing the deviation between the planned and the actual. So all these comes under the primary objective. Now what are the different scenario of materials management? Now first is that under the primary objective, that making the availability of the materials at right place. Now when we talk about the supply of material, so it is not like that material is reaching from supplier to the manufacturer. It should be in a specified quantity and quality with a expected quality, which is expected, whether it is a 3 sigma, whether it is a 6 sigma, or any other quality measure. Then at an economic cost, there was a period about 10 to 20 or 30 years before, when the factory owners used to purchase in a bulk so that they should get the material and they should hold the material. But this is not advisable. What happens after certain period of time? There was a obsolescence, there was a deterioration, there was a depreciation, and the material gets corroded also. So there was a loss of materials. So this is also not advisable. So economic cost is desirable, but it should not be like that, that we purchase in a small quantity by paying a huge cost. Then another important objective is the maintaining the continuity of supply. We should not encourage that supply is continuously coming for 3 days, then again stoppage for 3 days and again coming. It should be continuity, whether it is a small quantity, but it should reach in a continuous manner. It should not be periodic manner. Now another important primary objective is the minimization of investment. Now in what sense? The investment in materials and inventory cost. So every materials manager has the responsibility to minimize the investment on the materials as well as the inventory cost. And my dear, whenever we talk about inventory cost, it is holding cost, it is ordering cost. Both, when we combine, they constitute a inventory cost. And when we take that, investment should be optimum for the inventory cost. So that is the important part of your materials management. I have discussed the primary objective as well as the significance of materials management, importance of the materials management. In next session, we will take the few more examples of materials management as well as the secondary objective of the materials management. Thank you. Welcome viewers. I am Professor Ashish Agarwal, Professor at School of Engineering and Technology, Indira Gandhi National Open University. I am Program Coordinator for the program Postgraduate Certificate in Inventory Planning and Warehousing System. Under this program, we have 4 courses, that is Introduction to Inventory Planning and Control, then Advanced Inventory Planning and Control, third one is your warehousing system, and fourth one is your project, which you have to take from any manufacturing or e-com company. So for any organization, the materials plays an important role. And you will be surprised to know about a major portion of the total cost of a product comes from the materials of that particular product. So the failure or the successful of any products depend on how well you are managing the material. Materials manager or the materials management is nothing but the management of or the coordination of several activities, just like planning, procuring, purchasing, ordering, storing, quality. All these activities are to be coordinated by a single department or single entity that is known as the materials management. Materials management has several objectives, and the objectives can be classified into 2 categories. one is your primary objective and the second one is your secondary objective. Now, materials manager, when we talk about the materials management, the primary objective is to assure the supply, to maintain the optimum inventory level, and to assure the minimum deviation between the planned and the actual result. Now, if I talk about the first primary objective, that how you will ensure the availability or the supply of material. When we talk about the availability or the assuring, it should be in a specified quantity with acceptable quality at economic cost and maintaining the continuity of the supply. The investment in the materials is in two types. One is investment in the material and second one is investment in the inventory cost. When we talk about the inventory cost, there are several components of the inventory cost. When we talk about the material cost, all the activities concerned with procurement of materials comes under the cost of the investment on the materials. Now, when we talk about how you will ensure the high inventory turnover, basically high inventory turnover means how frequently you are replacing the inventory. If you are efficient, you will replace the inventory very frequently. Now, decision making for the material flow is very important. Inventory trade-off means trade-off between the holding cost and the ordering cost. And the third important point is your tracking of the materials as well as the tracking of the labeling of the material. These all comes under the primary objective. Now we will come to the secondary objective. In a very simple language, secondary objectives are those which helps in achieving the primary objective. Primary objective means assuring the supply, investment minimum, not breaking the continuity. These are our primary objective. Now, when we talk about the secondary objective, we have to focus that what are the objective which needs for fulfilling the primary objective. Just like first important point is your forecasting and estimation. Forecasting means you have the previous 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 years data. On the basis of that, you predict that what is going to be future, how much, then you need the estimation. What is the quantity, what is the labor required, what is the space required, these comes under the estimation. Now, when we talk about the secondary objective, the most important objective is identifying the vendors. Because as in my earlier portion of the session, we said reliable source, reliable resource. Reliable resource means we have to identify a reliable vendor from where we have to purchase the item. So when we talk about the vendors, it should be reliable, it should be economic, it should be prompt and timely. If somebody is giving us a price with an economical quantity price, but it is delaying, so it is of no use, because we want the materials at right time, at right quantity, at right place, with right price. That is very important. So when the material is coming from the reliable, because we have seen in the COVID era, the only person who is reliable is able to supply us. Who are unreliable, they have stopped, they have just make the lock in their premises and they say sorry. But how the Indian companies, manufacturing companies survived? Only because of the reliable resources. That is the more important that we need to focus as a secondary objective of the materials management. Now, how you will reduce the cost? What are the several cost reduction techniques? Because it is very simple to say reduction of the cost, but how you will? The most important is the variety reduction, because nowadays what is the main feature of today's generation? We depend on the customer demand and we provide a huge variety. If we reduce the variety, we will be able to reduce the cost. Standardization. We have to produce the items just like nowadays. Charger or the charge cable is adaptable to or compatible to anywhere. That means now we are standardization the mobile cable. Then simplification. Simplification as a product design engineer, I will say, instead of keeping the complex design, the design of a product should be simple in nature. It should not be several assemblies. It should as simple as you can make. If you make the simplification, it will save the several types of the cost. Then fourth one is your value analysis. Value analysis is in a layman language, it is the reduction of the waste. Any type of waste which is not adding value in the component of the process is a waste. Fifth one is inventory control by trading off between holding and ordering cost. Then purchase research. That is also very important. One has to not like that somebody is coming and he is purchasing from that. No, we have to make a research from the various resources so that we should get the cost or we should get the product at economic quantity at a reasonable price. Now, what are the coordination? We always say that there is a need of a coordination in materials management. Now, what are the activities which are involved in the materials management? One is your planning, scheduling, storage, and the maintenance of materials. Now, planning is very simple. One has to plan for 3 months time or 2 months time. Then schedule that how the materials will reach to the your organization or establishment. Then storage, because it is coming in a bulk quantity and it cannot be utilized or consumed immediately. So you need a place where you can keep them. Then maintenance. Certain materials need the maintenance, because otherwise, just like for example, I will take the example of vegetable or fruits or any item, even the medicines, some types of life-saving drugs. We need to maintain them so that when it reaches to the patient or the customer, its quality, its properties should not be damaged anyway. So that is called the 4 activities and that is need the coordination. Now, what are the one-time activities in the materials manager? For example, your location planning, because you need a location. For example, you have a organization, after expansion you need a location. Certain organizations or the establishment, just like your Coal India Limited, or the raw material production, just like steel plant, they always keep their location near to the your mines, so that the transportation cost can be minimized. Second is their layout of your organization where the production is taking place. Layout planning is very important because you want to reduce the material handling cost. Then coding and the classification of the materials, because even in a small organization, the total types of materials may be in hundreds or in sometimes in thousands. So coding is very essential, because when we talk about the material, it does not mean that only the steel. If we talk about the automotive company, the sheets of different gauges will be the different materials. Similarly, the tools, only the saw is not a single material. There may be several types of saw. Machine, if a power press is there, power press can be of different varieties. 5 ton, 10 ton, 15 ton, 20 ton. So all these comes under the different materials. Then designing the material handling, because one of the most important thing, and which I have already explained in one of my earlier slides, that material handling should be proper. Because if the material handling is not proper, there will be a huge wastage, as well as there is a chances of accident. So material handling should be proper. Another important one-time activity is the computerization and the use of ICT tools or the information system design. Because every station should have the clear picture about the quantity of material, movement of the material. That is very important, because if we have a image and there is a transparency, we can plan our whole production schedule accordingly to that information which is available to us. Now, as a efficient materials manager, you must understand what are the various critical issues in the materials management. Because earlier, beside white collar job, the student of final year loves to join the materials management department. Even today also. But there are so many other difficulties. I will not say one should not join, but one should take the challenge. Now, the most important issue is an incorrect bills of the materials which comes from the your supplier. That should be checked, because it is a game theory. The vendor, if he is not honest, then he will try to make or to supply the low cost material, and by keeping the incorrect information in the bill. So this is one of the challenge, because at a materials management, if he is providing you 1000 quantity, bill should be for 1000 quantity. As a materials management, you have a team, so one should check whether the bills is as per the quantity or it is more. You are getting only 950 item and the bill is for 1000. So that is the incorrect bill. Second type of issue is your incorrect cycle counts. Because what is happening, cycle counts means the each time the vendor is supplying to you. He says he will supply in 3 cycles, but he is supplying in 4 cycles, 5 cycles. So that is also not tolerable. Or even the less cycle is also not tolerable, because we are managing our warehouse only on the basis of the cycle count. Another important issue is unreported scrap, because what happens, as per ISO 9000, every operator or every department has to declare the scrap which is coming from after the processing of component or for making the component. But what happens, we as a materials manager is totally unaware because of his or her own efficiency, because that is very important. If he has a proper knowledge, he will be able to manage that scrap. Shipping error is also very important. Shipping error, that the whatever amount or schedule for shipping from one place to another, because now the total business is global. So many materials are coming from the abroad. So shipping plays an important role. Similarly, final product is going from India to several other places. For that, if there is any shipping error, it will be a cost effective or the cost making affair. Receiving errors, when you receive the material, in other words, we can say incorrect billing, but receiving error is something which is from your part. Incorrect billing is from vendor part. But receiving here, suppose you, some person is there and 1000 items are there, but he counts 999. Or he makes delay. All this comes under the errors in the receiving. Then the final is your production reporting error. What is that? Production is taking place. You know that this item, after producing, taking so much quantity of the material, but you have a wrong information. So you will plan accordingly. But fortunately, with the use of IT tools, with the use of computerization, all these we have minimized such type of errors. Now, what are the various functions of materials management? You must be thinking that there are so many repetition of terms, but all these, when you kept under the different categories, they makes a small sections. We have talked about the significance, importance, objective, then now coming the functions of the materials management. First is your materials planning and control, purchasing, stores management, and inventory control. This picture will depict you all the 4 functions of the materials management. Various other functions of the materials management is 3S function, that is standardization, simplification, and specification. These 3 are very important. Another function is your value analysis, that is the minimization of waste. Then ergonomics, taking the human body care, and just in time, that is a Japanese philosophy, that we require those items which are required at presently. Now, under the materials planning and control, we have several other objectives, just like these are the secondary objectives or the secondary functions or the functions which start with the forecast. First we forecast what is the required, we estimate, and on the basis of that the whole materials planning and control department, or in short we say MPC, works. Using the sales forecast and the production plan, the rest of functions is scheduled and performed. requirement of parts as well as materials are determined based on the production schedules. You must have read about the material requirement planning or the manufacturer resource planning. Under that, there is a one important term, that is the bills of material, that we will take in our next session, that how the bills of material is generated on the basis of certain information which is available from the material planning and control. So in our today's session, we have taken the significance of materials management, and the most important, what is the definition of materials management? What do you understand by materials management? Then what is the importance of the materials management? What are the different objectives, that is primary and the secondary objective? And then finally we come to the what are the different functions of the materials management, just like material planning and control. So I hope and trust that my session may be very theoretical in nature, must be very useful to you in understanding the materials management. And the proper understanding is essential when we talk about the material requirement planning and the manufacturing resource planning. So it is my advice to see it again so that you can be able to understand about the materials management and their functions. Thank you.